Indonesia urges Toyota to move its manufacturing hubs from Thailand. What should the government do to retain car makers? US tariffs are hitting Thailand's product. What is the Thailand's team's action to alleviate the impact? Challenges are imminent. What is Thailand's move? You're watching The Next Move with me, Franc Han Shih. Indonesia has publicly invited Toyota and car makers to move its manufacturing bases from Thailand to Indonesia with investment incentives and more opportunities. What should Thailand do to retain Japanese automakers? Under President Donald Trump's tariff policies, Thailand now is facing 12.5 tariffs under Section 301, as well as under Section 232. And new tariffs under List 2 are also approaching. What are Thailand's strategies? I will give you more analysis on Thailand's auto industry and US tariff policies. So what can Thailand do to retain Japanese car makers which have set their hubs in Thailand decades ago? Dr. Archanun Kophaiboon, expert in Thailand's auto industry, will join me later to give me more analysis. And Thailand is facing heavy impacts by US tariff policies under Section 301 and Section 232. Vice Minister for Commerce, Dr. Kirida Bhaopichit, told me that the government is aiming to complete ART as soon as possible. Our conversations will air later in the show. But before that, let's make a move into Thailand's move to retain car makers in the country. Indonesia has publicly invited Japanese automotive giant Toyota to move its manufacturing hub from Thailand to Indonesia. But why is Indonesia taking this action, and what is Thailand doing to retain Toyota? Indonesia's finance minister said, "We will support Toyota, but they must bring their main manufacturing operations from Thailand to Indonesia." Indonesia uses leverage to provide incentive to car makers as this crucial move will help build local supply chains and ecosystem. But what is Thailand's move to retain the car maker? The Thai government plans to revise excise taxes on domestically produce vehicles and impose higher taxes on fully built imports from companies without a manufacturing hub in Thailand. The Ministry of Finance aims to introduce the new rules before the end of 2026, encouraging car makers to make genuine investments and establish manufacturing hubs in Thailand. At the same time, Thailand plans to seek more opportunity for automotive exports to Australia and New Zealand, where it already has free trade agreements. The government hopes stronger export opportunities will make Thailand a more attractive base for global car makers. So after Indonesia's policy to urge Toyota to move its hubs from Thailand to Indonesia, what should the government do to retain Japanese car makers? Joining me now is Professor Atan Gopun at the Faculty of Economics of Thammasat University and also expert in Thailand's auto industry. Atan, sawadee krap.
Oh, sawadee krap.
Right, very good to have you on the show. Because I think this is the hot topic since last week. We understand that, of course, Indonesia government and the finance minister invited Toyota to move its hub to Indonesia. So how serious is the risk for Thailand if we really see that move from Toyota?
I think it's too early to of course, the risk would be real, but it's too early to see whether the company will decide to move to Indonesia, because the production base that we are talking about, that is an internal combustion engine vehicles, have a lot of parts and components. The supply chain are very complex. So it is not easy and it's costly to move. So, but the risk seems to be real to me. But it would not take place like suddenly. It could take place like gradually. But the more important question is why they decide to why these lists come from. I think that is much more important question to be asked.
So of course, I understand that Indonesia and they say that they will provide a lot of investment strategies, investment incentives for Toyota. As what you say, of course, it wouldn't happen in one day, but they might happen gradually or years ahead. So you say that it's quite difficult for Toyota to move actually because supply chains are also established now. So what is the strategies for Thai government right now? What should Thailand's government do right now?
I think that we need to carefully think about why this risk come from. I think Toyota and Honda, as you know, try to voice their concern explicitly about the policy discrimination, especially from the policy promoting to use battery electric vehicle in Thailand start from EV 3.0. I think that is the real concern that it impose a very price distortion into the system, and both company together with other Japanese car maker which has stayed with us for a very long time, try to echo that is not fair. I think the Thai government has to look, is it not fair? Is it what the government wants? To my opinion, it creates a huge price difference and very unfair competition to the incumbents like Japanese car maker. I think the government should fix it as soon as possible. Otherwise, the distortion could affect badly, severely to the existing Thai automotive and supply chain here.
Right, because actually Finance Minister Dr. Anidi already said that, okay, right now Thailand will plan to revise the excise taxes for domestically produced vehicles. So this is one of the strategy from the government. But for the long run, have you seen any more effective strategies now?
I think that, yes, the resetting the excise tax is good, but you have to we have to address the urgent problem. Is there's a flood of Chinese BEVs because of the advantage over the preferential tariff under the ASEAN-China FTA and also the preferential in excise tax. Both of them combine, the effect they compound and create the price difference. So if we realize this is the main problem, we should attack this. We should address this problem at the beginning, and then we have to think about the long term. What our country visions about the automotive industry? How can we see? I think that we need to understand that battery electric vehicles, that technology yet mature. So the company that develop this product might take longer time to ready to investment abroad. What we expect them to set up manufacturing here in the very near future, 1 or 2 years, might not be realistic, especially in the critical parts like battery or the core electronics devices, like the electrical converters or other things. I think we have to have a realistic target. Otherwise, it's very hard to achieve it. And so and we have to understand another problem is we have a problem with enforce the requirements, because we pay for subsidy and in exchange for certain parts localization. How can we sure that we can implement that, enforce that requirement effectively? That is what the two leading Japanese car maker voiced. They complain about the imported the some company, they just do a mine manufacturing. This is going to be the big issue, and also this is going to be related to the transshipment also. Yep.
So very important as what you said, to balance, as in, of course, Japanese car makers, they came to Thailand decades ago, and right now we see the trends of BEV and Chinese makers trying to make hubs and, of course, produce vehicles in Thailand. But, of course, as what you said, Japanese car makers facing a lot of risks. But do you think this, very quickly, do you think this is one of the factors that Japanese car makers, they might move to Indonesia because firstly, they have bigger markets there, they have more populations there, and of course, their supply chains there are being established right now. Is this a good cause for Toyota or other Japanese car makers to move to Indonesia in the future?
Maybe not, because a lot of things still ongoing. There are many policy uncertainty in both countries, Thailand and Indonesia. We experience economic challenge. So for Indonesian viewpoint, I guess the response like that would be gain the popularity locally that government try to address economic challenge. But in reality, it's not that easy because of some harm. Because the supply chain is very complex. You need to have to trust in policy certainty to some extent, and in the turbulence if you don't see any clear signal that the policy will be certain, I think that investor might wait and see. And the larger domestic markets and other that has been a long, we know that for a long time. It is a new thing, right? So I think that it could be, but it yet to be certain at this stage. I think that 1 or 2 years can say more. But they might start thinking about that.
Right. So what you said, it's very important to see if the supply chains could be really stabilized by the policy there. It's not just about the talk, and also the very strong policy to let car makers to see that they really can move. But they already have supply chains here, right? As what you said. So they might not just choose to go immediately.
Yeah.
Right. Atan, I think it's pretty good to get to your insights about it. Also, you also talk about the BEV, of course, the floods from Chinese car makers right now. Do you think, last question very quickly, do you think the Chinese BEV floods into Thailand is beneficial for Thailand's car makers? I mean, auto industry.
It would not. It depends on what the government expect from this policy. If we want to just have a battery electric vehicle running on the Thai road, that would be fine. But if you think about to make Thai to be the cleaner vehicle production hub, the cleaner mean more environmental friendly vehicle, we need to think, because if they keep flooding like this, no one will survive. No one can achieve economy also. So it's impossible to anyone to start real manufacturing here. You have to balance this one.
And battery waste too, actually, when it comes to EV. And after 10 years, we have to, the drivers needs to change battery there. And what's the policy there? We haven't seen that quite firmly in a way. Right. Thank you for your time, Dr. Archanun Kophaiboon, professor at the Faculty of Economics and Thammasat University, and expert in Thailand's auto industry. Thank you for your time, Atan.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Right. Dr. Archanun there to talk about auto industry in Thailand and how can Thailand really retain car makers in the country. Another topic we have to talk about, of course, is US tariff. Thailand is facing a high tariff rate from the US compared to other regional peers, but Thailand will face more impacts from other potential new tariffs. Vice Minister for Commerce, Dr. Kirida Bhaopichit, said that the government will use leverage and expedite an agreement on reciprocal trade. This is my conversation with Atan Kirida.
So we have been hearing a lot about the 12.5% that was imposed on Thailand, but actually this is a reduction from the previous tariff rates that the US had been imposing on us. If you remember back in April last year, President Trump has announced a 36% tariff rate on Thailand and on many other countries around the world as well. But after that, the tariff rate was reduced to 19%, if you remember, from 36% to 19%, under the condition that Thailand agrees to the ART, or the Agreements on Reciprocal Trade. If we can agree on that, then our tariff rate would be 19%. But before we could finish, discussing the ART, by February this year, the Supreme Court had ruled that those previous tariff rates that the U.S. government has been charging is illegal. So they had to scrap the tariff rate that was charged on us, which was 19%. So therefore, the U.S. had to find new tools to increase the tariff rate back to where they were. So Section 301 was then imposed so that the U.S. can raise the tariff rates back. So under Section 301, Kun Frank, I just want to explain briefly that the U.S. would have to charge countries that they want to raise this tariff rate of some wrongdoing, according to the trade with the U.S., and then they can charge us with cases. They can be as many cases as they want, and then if we are found guilty, then they will raise tariff rate as a punishment for the cases. So the 12.5% that we heard a few weeks ago was actually Section 301 case number 1, because we in Thailand is charged two cases. So under case number 1, which says that Thailand does not have measures or laws that prevent the imports of goods that are produced by forced labor. So countries that do not have this law or measure are charged 12.5%, which is 38 countries, including Thailand. And then countries that have the law or the measures are charged 10%. They're charged 10% if they have the law or if they have already agreed to the ART. So Thailand does not have a law yet. We're going to submit this law to Parliament next year. And we haven't agreed on the ART, or the Agreements on Reciprocal Trade. So therefore, our tariff rate on case number 1 is 12.5%.
Right, but this is the imminent risks that actually economists and, of course, people on the ground, they see the number of 12.5% when we compare to other peers, only 10%. There might be some, appalling emotions there. But, of course, we want to understand the measures of Thai government, how to, lower the risks right now.
Right. So let me explain just for this case, right? Because as I mentioned, we have another case waiting for us as well. But for case number 1, which we are charged with 12.5%, and some of our neighbors, namely Malaysia and Indonesia, are charged 10%. So it's only a 2.5% difference. The reason why Malaysia and Indonesia are charged with 10% is because they have already agreed to the ART, the Agreements of Reciprocal Trade. They don't have this law. Like Thailand, we don't have this law either. But actually, our other competitors like China or Vietnam are charged, China is definitely charged higher than us, and Vietnam is also 12.5%. But China's, because they have been charged with other cases before that, so their total tariff rates are higher than Thailand's at the moment. Even though under this case 1, they're also charged 12.5%. So if we look at the competitiveness, right, we have to look at our competitors as well. And our main competitor in the U.S. market is China and Vietnam. So when we look at China and Vietnam, they're not higher than us at the moment. So that's one fact that we need to know. The other fact is, of course, that even though we are competitive, we're still trying to submit products that will be exempted by the 12.5% from the 12.5%. Actually, when the USTR announced the 12.5% or the 10% for this case number 1, they have an exemption list of over 2,000 products, which for Thailand accounts for more than 60% of our total export value to the US. So we are actually, trying to submit additional products that we would like the USTR to exempt us from the 12.5% as well. So that's the second thing we're doing. And of course, the third thing is that next year when our law goes to Parliament and becomes effective, the law that prevents imports of goods that are made from forced labor, when this law is effective, we will request the USTR to relook at this case so that our tariff rate, can be, reduced from 12.5% to 10%. But this is only on case number one. In fact, there's still a second case, which I will explain later.
Right. I think it's very important to talk about because as what you said right now, we only see case one and the tariff is already here and we have to see the case two here too. Actually, the US section 2322, I think very important for us to on steel, on aluminum and auto parts too. What are the strategies right now to mitigate that one too? These two actually.
Right. So let me tell also about the section 232. So the U.S. uses many laws to increase tariffs, for their trading partners. So section 301, as I mentioned, is just on case one at the moment. We're still waiting for the verdict for case number two, which I'll explain further. But at the moment, what we are also being imposed is section 232. And section 232 actually, raises tariffs by product, and it's raised for every single country in the world. So the products that have been under section 232 are things like aluminum and steel, right, or automobile and automobile parts, for example, and also some parts of electronics. But to be honest with you, at the moment, section 232 has not affected Thailand much because we are not exporting a lot of steel to the U.S. or even cars, or car parts to the U.S. Directly. So we're not heavily affected by section 232 yet. But what we are actually more concerned about now is the section 301 that they're using on us, and there will be more to come.
Right. So do you have any in Thailand? Because we right now already seeing the case one right now on the 301. What about the case two right now? Is there any risks and danger for us for export to U.S. market?
So let me talk about case two a little bit, so you can have an understanding of what it is. So case number two, the USTR has charged Thailand with the case that we have structural excess capacity. What that means is that we have been subsidizing. The government has been subsidizing. This is what they accuse us of, that we have been subsidizing the private sector so that the private sector overinvest here in Thailand. So there's a lot of capacity here. And when the private sector actually, manufactures or produce, they use, very little capacity. So therefore, there's a lot of excess capacity left. And that's not good because the U.S. fears that Thailand might use that excess capacity in the future. So business in Thailand will use that excess capacity to produce more and export to the U.S. more in the future. So the U.S. might, run a higher deficit with Thailand. So in this case, number two of structural excess capacity, we have already sent, written documents, and we have also went, to the USTR in person to explain to them that, first of all, we do not subsidize, our private sector extensively, so that they overinvest. It's private sector's decisions mostly. Secondly, we do not have that much excess capacity left, especially in the industries that they're worried about, such as car and car parts, rubber and rubber products, and also in machineries. Those are the three sectors that they're worried about in case number two. So we actually showed them the figures that our capacity utilization is 75 to 95%. So it's almost 100% already. There is not much excess capacity left. So they listened and they said, okay, we'll get back to you. But as you asked, Kun Frank, the timeline has not been set yet. They have not told us when they will announce the verdict for the second case. But we think it's going to come soon, probably in the next few weeks, because at the end of the day, the U.S. is trying to, as I mentioned earlier, to raise their tariff rates, on different countries back to where they were last year. So for Thailand, it's now 12.5%, and for last year, it was 19%, right? So they want to raise the tariff rates back. And each case where the tariff rates are announced will be added on to each other. So first case, it's 12.5% at the moment for Thailand. If the second case comes out to, let's say, 6%, then it's 12.5 plus 6, all right? So each case will be on top of each other. It will stack up on each other. So we're still waiting for the verdict of the second case, but we've done our best. We've sent, all the information that's needed. But at the end of the day, Kun Frank, it's not only, the case that matters. The U.S. wants us to agree on the ART, as I mentioned, the Articles of Reciprocal Trade. the agreements on reciprocal trade. My apologies. And if we can agree to that, then the tariff rate that they'll charge us under Section 301 might be a bit lower, right? So Section 301 essentially is just a tool that the U.S. is using to raise tariff rates.
Yeah, and of course push Thailand to agree with such agreement that you see that you just talk about. And of course, as everyone knows already, trade deficit with Thailand for US, of course, is 71.9 billion in 2025. So they have to use these tools to push us to raise the tariff and of course get benefits for the US. But very importantly, I think very quickly for you, Dr. Kirida, you've been to actually US a few times. You talked to USTR. You help on the negotiations too. What are the future strategies right now? Because of course, Thailand doesn't want to get higher tariffs than others. And of course, we want to protect businesses and inside the country too. What are the strategies from the ministry?
Right. So, it's a Team Thailand's effort because it's every ministry joining hands to discuss with the U.S. on this. And the Ministry of Commerce, of course, is the coordinator on this. And our Deputy Prime Minister or the Minister of Commerce is the chief negotiator. So basically, what we are trying to position Thailand is that we will try our best, right, to conclude the ART, the agreements of reciprocal trade with the U.S., because we know that's what the U.S. would really consider in terms of how much tariff rates we'll get. So it depends on how much we can agree on the ART with them. So we will try to conclude the ART as much as we can. We might not be able to conclude 100% with them because it's a long list of requests that the U.S. has made for every country, including Thailand. But we will respond to most of them positively. But there are some that we might have to discuss or negotiate further. But we'll try our best to conclude the ART by the next couple of weeks. But secondly, of course, we would also try to see what can we also offer the U.S. so that that's mutual benefit, right? For example, if we can invest more in the U.S. or if the U.S. wants to invest more in Thailand, and that's a win-win situation for both sides, that's something that we will be very happy to proceed as well, because there are many Thai companies that would like to invest in the U.S. on energy, on food production. So that is a win-win situation for us. Or there might be some products that we would need to import from the U.S. more because the cost of those products from the U.S. is lower, and it will help lower the cost of production in Thailand. For example, soybean or corn, or even airplanes because we don't have them. So things like that, or energy, we will be happy to import more of that. We here, I'm talking about the private sector, because as I said, it's a Team Thailand's effort, and it's not only the government, it's the private sector who's also in our team as well. So we're all working together, in order to find the best deal for Thailand, so that the net benefit, for Thailand, will be highest. So that's the goal that we're trying to achieve.
Right. Difficult situation there, push and pull, and good luck on the negotiations and, of course, the agreement with the U.S. there. Vice Minister for Commerce, Dr. Kirida Bhaopichit, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Right. Bye.
ขอบคุณมากค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Yesterday, I was at a Dow Jones summit about Thailand having expanded its politically exposed persons policy, or PEP policies, and how have these changes impacted financial institutions and the government sector. These are my conversations at a Dow Jones seminar yesterday.
ในส่วนของ PEPs อันใหม่ใช่ไหมคะก็จะต้องบอกว่าสิ่งแรกคือมันชัดเจนยิ่งขึ้นนะคะซึ่งเดิมเนี่ยเกณฑ์ของregulator ก็คือปปงเนี่ยไม่ได้ชัดเจนขนาดนี้นะคะในเมื่อมันชัดเจนยิ่งขึ้นทำให้การ monitor transaction นะคะมันทำได้ง่ายยิ่งขึ้นนะคะพอมาประกอบกับสิ่งที่ดาวโจนส์ซึ่งก็เป็นพาร์ทเนอร์ของเราอะนะคะหาข้อมูลมาให้ก็ทำให้ระบบของเราในการทำงานอ่ะมันก็ง่ายยิ่งขึ้นค่ะ
For me, I think the government should prepare allow the one who need to report for them to prepare something in advance more than 3 or 6 months. Yeah, because when I met so many clients, they are compliant and they need to do the report for their AMLO. They all not complain, but they all mention about this thing that they have no time. Yeah, so for me, government should have a concrete source, yeah, like a website or maybe the way that they should announce to the one who need to report, very clear and direct message that what they have to do in this time frame. Yeah, because for this time, it's just like a one paper announced through the website, and then that's it. Nowhere and no crew to check. Yeah, so I think it's to be honest, it's not fair for the working team because they also have to prepare as well as our team have to support it. And we as a researcher also require time. Yeah, so for me, I think government should maybe consider about this part because I feel like even private company or government sector, everyone who need to report, they also want to align with the regulators.
Right. For our program today, we'll talk about Thailand's auto industry and how can Thailand retain car makers in the country. We'll talk about US tariff and how Ministry of Commerce and Thailand team really try to negotiate and alleviate the pressures from the US government and also PP policies that are very important to tackle money laundering and corruption in the country. So let's wrap up for the show. I'm Franc Han Shih. This is the Next Move. We need your comments. Please also follow us on the social media platforms. We have all the presence on social media platforms there. Please follow us. This is the Next Move. See you next week.